The 27 Club is one of the most perplexing and chilling patterns in pop culture history. It refers to a group of famous musicians, actors, and artists who all died at the young age of 27, often due to tragic and mysterious circumstances. Some of the most famous members include Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. The phenomenon has sparked numerous theories, ranging from coincidence and psychological factors to supernatural curses and industry conspiracies. Here, we explore some of the most compelling reasons behind this eerie pattern. The pressure of fame, the high cost of success. Fame is often seen as a dream come true, but for many young artists, it quickly turns into a nightmare of overwhelming pressure, public scrutiny, and isolation. The entertainment industry demands constant output, reinvention, and perfection, leaving little room for rest or personal struggles. By the time artists reach their late 20s, they have often achieved global fame, but have also endured years of stress, exploitation, and personal turmoil. The expectation to remain relevant, produce hit after hit, and meet the public's expectations can create immense anxiety and depression. For many stars in the 27 Club, the burden of fame proved too much. They had to navigate the pressures of constant touring, relentless media attention, and an industry that prioritizes profit over personal well-being. The mental toll of being under the spotlight without proper support can push even the most talented individuals towards self-destructive behaviors, substance abuse, and burnout. Jimi Hendrix and Amy Winehouse, for example, struggled with the demands of their careers and often expressed frustration over their lack of personal freedom. Without the right coping mechanisms or support systems, these pressures can lead to a tragic and early demise. The curse of the 27 Club, a supernatural explanation. One of the most chilling theories about the 27 Club is that it is not just a coincidence, but a supernatural curse that has claimed the lives of multiple famous artists. This belief dates back to Robert Johnson, a legendary blues musician, who was said to have sold his soul to the devil at a crossroads in exchange for extraordinary guitar skills. Johnson later died mysteriously at 27, and many believe this marked the beginning of a dark pattern. Some conspiracy theorists argue that the entertainment industry has hidden occult connections, and that young stars who gain immense fame at a young age may be unknowingly part of a mystical or ritualistic cycle. This theory suggests that some artists are marked for death as part of a larger cosmic or supernatural plan, ensuring that their legacies remain frozen in time. While skeptics dismiss the curse theory as pure superstition, it is hard to ignore the eerie similarities in how many of these stars died, often from overdoses, suicide, or unexplained accidents. The idea of a curse is further fueled by the fact that several members of the 27 Club had expressed fears about dying young before their deaths. Kurt Cobain, for example, was fascinated by the concept and seemed to subconsciously believe in it, as did Amy Winehouse. Whether it is a real supernatural force or just an eerie coincidence, the curse theory remains one of the most popular explanations for the 27 Club. The role of addiction, a dangerous lifestyle of excess. Many of the artists who became part of the 27 Club battled severe substance abuse issues, often struggling with drugs and alcohol long before their deaths. The entertainment industry has long been associated with a culture of excess and self-destruction, where artists are surrounded by constant temptations. Drugs and alcohol are often used as a way to cope with stress, depression, anxiety, and personal struggles, but they frequently lead to addiction, reckless behavior, and, ultimately, death. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and Amy Winehouse all died due to drug-related causes, highlighting how addiction plays a major role in the 27 Club. The fast-paced nature of fame, combined with easy access to drugs and alcohol, creates an environment where young stars can quickly lose control. Many also lack strong support systems or mental health care, leaving them to battle their demons alone. What makes this pattern even more tragic is that, in many cases, friends and family saw the warning signs, but were powerless to intervene. The music industry often enables destructive behavior rather than discouraging it, and many artists are surrounded by people who profit from their fame rather than genuinely care about their well-being. This toxic combination of addiction, lack of support, and the pressures of fame has led many talented individuals down a dark and irreversible path. The age 27 phenomenon, a psychological and biological turning point. From a psychological and scientific perspective, the age of 27 is often seen as a critical turning point in human development. Research shows that the brain is not fully matured until around 25 to 27 years old, meaning that young adults are still developing emotional regulation, decision-making skills, and impulse control. This is particularly dangerous for those who struggle with mental health disorders, as this age can mark the worsening of conditions like bipolar disorder, depression, and anxiety. In addition, the late 20s are often a time of crisis and transition, especially for celebrities who achieved fame at a young age. Many artists who reach their late 20s start questioning their career choices, dealing with burnout, and struggling with identity crisis. Some experience disillusionment with the industry, feeling trapped by contracts, public expectations, and financial pressures. This sense of being stuck or overwhelmed can push some towards self-destructive behaviors or suicidal thoughts. Kurt Cobain, for example, was deeply depressed about his fame and felt trapped by the music industry, which some believe led to his tragic decision to end his life. Similarly, Amy Winehouse publicly battled addiction and mental health struggles, but was unable to escape the cycle of self-destruction. The age of 27 may not be a curse in the mystical sense, but rather a dangerous psychological and biological milestone where many struggling artists face a critical breaking point. Industry exploitation. Are young stars being pushed too far? The entertainment industry has a long history of exploiting young artists, prioritizing profit over personal well-being. Many members of the 27 Club were thrown into the spotlight at a young age, subjected to exhausting schedules, endless media scrutiny, and constant pressure to perform. Rather than being given time to rest or seek help, they were pushed to work harder, often against their own well-being. Record labels and managers see young talent as money-making machines, and many artists are pressured into unrelenting tours, album releases, and media appearances, leaving them with little personal freedom. This kind of lifestyle can lead to burnout, extreme stress, and depression, creating an environment where young stars feel trapped. The industry also fosters a culture where substance abuse is normalized, leading many to self-medicate in order to cope with the demands of their careers. For those who try to step away from the industry or take control of their own careers, the backlash can be brutal. Some artists feel isolated, betrayed, and powerless, which can push them further into despair and self-destruction. The deaths of some 27 Club members could have been prevented if the industry had prioritized their well-being rather than their profitability. Unfortunately, history has shown that many stars are pushed to their limits until it is too late. The burden of immortality. The fear of losing relevance. For many young celebrities, reaching the peak of fame is not the hardest part. It's staying relevant that becomes the real challenge. When artists achieve massive success at an early age, they often face a terrifying realization. What comes next? The fear of becoming a has-been or losing their artistic spark can create crippling anxiety and depression. Many members of the 27 Club, such as Jim Morrison and Kurt Cobain, expressed deep concerns about their legacy. Morrison once stated that he feared growing old and irrelevant, while Cobain famously struggled with his place in the music industry, feeling trapped between artistic integrity and mainstream expectations. Some theorists argue that this pressure can push artists into self-destructive behavior, either consciously or subconsciously, as a way to preserve their youthful legacy forever. This concept of eternal youth and artistic immortality is a major reason why the 27 Club remains so iconic. Their deaths, while tragic, froze them in time at the height of their careers. Fans remember them as forever young, rebellious, and untouchable, ensuring that their music and influence live on. Whether this is by choice, fate, or coincidence, the burden of immortality weighs heavily on many stars, making 27 a dangerous age for those who struggle with their own artistic and personal identity. The influence of depression and mental illness. Mental health struggles are a common theme among members of the 27 Club. Many of these artists battled depression, bipolar disorder, and other mental illnesses that were either undiagnosed, untreated, or dismissed by those around them. During the 1960s, 70s, and even the 90s, mental health awareness was nowhere near what it is today, meaning that many artists suffered in silence. Cobain was known to struggle with chronic depression and suicidal thoughts, while Amy Winehouse's personal battles with addiction and mental health were widely documented. Jim Morrison's erratic behavior suggested underlying mental health issues, yet during his time, the rock and roll culture often romanticized reckless and self-destructive behavior rather than addressing the root cause. One of the major factors linking these deaths together is the absence of proper mental health care. The music industry, rather than offering support, often enabled destructive behavior, reinforcing the idea that artists had to suffer for their craft. If these artists had access to modern mental health care and a more supportive environment, their stories might have had a different ending. The dark side of fame: isolation and loneliness. Despite being adored by millions of fans, many young stars in the 27 Club felt completely alone. Fame can be isolating. Friends, family, and even romantic partners may take advantage of their success rather than offering real support. Some artists find it impossible to trust people, fearing that everyone around them is more interested in their money and status than their well-being. Amy Winehouse, for example, was surrounded by people who profited from her career but failed to protect her from herself. Even when she was visibly struggling, those closest to her did little to intervene, and she was often forced back into the spotlight despite her declining health. Similarly, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin both lived fast-paced, chaotic lifestyles, yet had very few true friends or support systems to help them navigate the pressures of fame. This deep loneliness can drive artists towards self-destructive coping mechanisms. Many turn to drugs, alcohol, and reckless behavior as a way to escape their internal struggles. However, without the right support, these coping mechanisms often spiral out of control, leading to tragic and untimely deaths. The music industry's role: pushing artists to the edge. The entertainment industry has a dark reputation for exploiting young talent, prioritizing profit over personal well-being. Many members of the 27 Club were thrust into the industry at a young age, with little to no control over their schedules, finances, or personal lives. Record labels and managers often push artists to their limits, forcing them to tour nonstop, produce hit albums, and engage in relentless publicity efforts, even when they are physically and emotionally exhausted. For artists like Kurt Cobain, fame felt more like a curse than a blessing. He often spoke about feeling like a puppet of the music industry, with little say in his own career trajectory. Amy Winehouse famously said she didn't want to do it anymore, yet was continuously forced back onto the stage despite her declining health. The pressure to keep producing, performing, and selling records leaves little room for self-care or mental health treatment. The industry thrives on youth and energy, meaning that once artists begin to struggle, they are often discarded or ignored rather than helped. This vicious cycle has claimed the lives of many young stars, making the 27 Club a reflection of the darker realities of fame and the music industry. A self-fulfilling prophecy: the power of myth and expectation. One of the most bizarre and unsettling aspects of the 27 Club is how many artists seem to predict their own deaths at that age. Kurt Cobain, for instance, was obsessed with the idea of dying young, often referencing it in his journals and interviews. Amy Winehouse told friends that she was scared of becoming part of the 27 Club, yet tragically succumbed to addiction at the same age. This raises the question: does the legend of the 27 Club itself play a role in these deaths? Some psychologists argue that once an idea becomes deeply ingrained in an artist's mind, it can subconsciously influence their behavior, leading them to make riskier choices or engage in more self-destructive habits. The concept of the 27 Club has taken on a myth-like status, and for artists who feel lost, struggling, or disillusioned with fame, the idea of joining it can become eerily appealing. This theory suggests that some artists might have internalized the myth, making their early deaths a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whether consciously or not, They may have fed into the idea that they were destined to die young, and their reckless behaviors only accelerated their path to tragedy. The 27 Club, coincidence or tragic pattern. The 27 Club remains one of the most mysterious and tragic phenomena in pop culture history. While some argue that it is purely coincidental, others believe that a mix of fame, addiction, mental health struggles, industry pressures, and self-fulfilling prophecy all contribute to this chilling pattern.